So they will be taking a look at a scenario where Japan formed an empire. Japan has been notoriously known throughout history for their empire in World War II, the Empire of Japan. But in today's video, we'll be taking a look at the scenario where they would try to form an empire modern day. And like in the usual empire videos, we'll have Japan being colored in red to show that they are the aggressor and the main character in this video, and this video revolves around them and they will be jumping to their first target. Similar to how they did when they first formed the Japanese Empire in World War II, they will start by invading the nation of South Korea. Japan will make a landing on the southern island and from there into the Korean peninsula, here into Korea, into the nation of South Korea, having a lot of success and managing to take a lot of this southern part of the nation. But South Korea is also a very strong nation, so they will have a lot of success repelling the Japanese attacks. But Japan will move along their eastern coast and manage to take their entire coast in here, followed by them pushing back the South Korean armies. They will also push further and get very close to their capital in Seoul and almost take that said capital, but finally also Korea will do some pushbacks. Overall, it's a pretty back and forth where they both manages to push each other back, but overall Japan manages to overpower South Korea and manages to capitulate this nation. In the first peace treaty of this video, we'll have Japan take over the nation of South Korea, and for now it's going super well, so they will keep going north into the nation of North Korea. First, Japan will start to make advances along the North Korean border into the demilitarized zone, which despite its name, it's one of the most militarized places on earth, but they will manage to take Pyongyang due to the fact that South Korea has fallen and Japan will now have a way easier time pushing through North Korea due to the fact that, well, South Korea is stronger than North Korea, so they fought a stronger foe, and this will lead to them having a way better time through North Korea. And also due to their dictatorial government, North Korea will fall pretty quickly, so this was a pretty short war. Damn, if you are Korean, you will for sure hate this map, but Japan has also annexed North Korea in the peace treaty, and now Japan owns the entirety of the Korean peninsula, just like in 1910. Now Japan will move across the Pacific here near the coast of China, and here they will make a stop in the island of Taipei, or better known as Taiwan. Japanese armies will land here in the north and take the capital of Taiwan, moving across the nation, but similar to South Korea, Taiwan is a pretty strong nation, so they will manage to do some pushbacks. But again, South Korea is way stronger than Taiwan, so they will also end up falling pretty quickly. The Japanese Empire is starting to come along already, as now they have already also annexed Taiwan, and they will go even more south here into the very nice nation named as Philippines. We will have the Japanese armies land in the tip of the Philippines on the North Island, where I think their capital is in Manila. They will take these northern parts of the archipelago, but now the Philippines will manage to do a pretty impressive pushback against the Japanese, retaking these islands. But overall, Japan will also have a pretty easy day moving across the Philippines. They will take all these islands, and pretty quickly the Philippines will also surrender. Also, Japan will end up annexing the nation of Philippines, and the empire is starting to come more and more along, and they are starting to grow bigger and bigger, closer to what they hope to achieve. But now they have basically taken all the islands that they wish for now, and they will decide to go into the actual inner continent of Asia, like how they did with the Korean peninsula, and they will be declaring war on Vietnam. First of all, we are gonna have the Japanese armies make a landing here on the coast of Vietnam and move across these southern territories, which aren't that hard to invade as the terrain is fairly easy to invade through, But when they get up north to the jungles of Vietnam, this is where they'll meet the true horrors of Vietnam. And it is exactly around here that they will start to be pushed back by the Vietnamese armies. They will have a lot of struggles invading through this part, and they will end up failing a lot. And even some people will rise up here in the south, and it seems like Japan is screwed in this war. That's until Japan makes another landing in here and manages to cut off the Vietnamese territory, and this leads to a very good pushbacks that traps the Vietnamese armies in here. Even though they will keep losing territory on this front, on the northern front they are doing very well and almost connected their two territories. Also, they will start to push more up north towards, well, the capital of Vietnam is, if they haven't taken it already. And also they will manage to meet up their armies just like this, and this group only remains here in this little part. Also now this southern group will also lose its luck and end up being recaptured by the Japanese armies. Also the northern division also falls, followed shortly by an invasion of the main core of Vietnam. Very harsh to invade, they suffer severe losses and a pretty bad pushback, but eventually they manage to go up north in there, cut them from the coast, which is a very big blow for Vietnam. But from there they also suffer another pushback, and finally, after a lot of pushbacks and a lot of years of war, Japan will manage to take down the nation of Vietnam. And after Japan annexes Vietnam, they will waste no time. I mean, they will take a bit of time to prepare, but after this they will invade Laos and Cambodia. Immediately from the territories that they have gathered from Vietnam, they will start advancing here into Laos and Cambodia, taking the entire border of these two nations so that they cannot send supplies to each other's. And then they will be targeted in Cambodia, with this nation being pretty weak. So basically Cambodia will get targeted first and they will be very quick to fall. And up north there will be not really a way better story, as also Laos will suffer severe losses as they are not that strong, and after a very short while they will just make the smart move to surrender over to Japan so that they no longer lose that many people. Now the Japanese Empire is very big and has taken the entirety of Indochina, not like the actual Indochina, because that would also include Thailand, Myanmar and Malaysia, but they have taken what was the former French colony. But now we're gonna have some lore here in Oceania, and that's the fact that Bougainville, which is an island here in Papua New Guinea, it will gain its independence, and let's just say that shortly after they will be annexed. They'll get annexed by Japan into their new empire, and also we are gonna have Japan start to annex a lot of these Oceanian islands, as these nations can't really protect themselves. They'll take islands like Palau, Fiji, and eventually they just end up with basically all of these oceanic microstates. But now Japan is gonna stay a little, they are gonna build up as they expanded a lot, and in a very short amount of time they will grow their army, their military, and also they feel like they might be able to grow their economy even more if they do something smart. So when the time comes, they will go to their next target, which is the nations of Malaysia, Singapore and Brunei. We are gonna have Japanese forces that were stationed in the Philippines make a landing here in this Filipino majority region of Malaysia. They will quickly overrun Brunei, and then they will overrun these Indonesian parts of Malaysia, followed by a landing being made here in this archipelago. Singapore will be taken, followed by Japan moving across these territories of Malaysia and also overrunning this poor little nation. Okay, Japan just expanded even more, and also they will decide to go for their next target, which is one that wasn't really that invaded throughout history, and this is Thailand. The Japanese troops that were stationed here from the invasion of Malaysia will go up north, taking the Thailandese lands, and they will take this very tight land. Also, we are gonna have from here, from their Indo-Chinese region, an invasion of the mainland of Thailand, taking their territories on the border with the Japanese Empire. And from here these troops will also march up north. They will take Bangkok, and from here this will lead to a pretty swift defeat of Thailand, which will decide after a bit more fighting to surrender. Another war, another nation taken down. Also Thailand will end up incorporated into the big Japanese empire, and Japan will go right to its next target in Myanmar. Firstly, we're gonna have this tight land being not so tight, as the panhandle of Myanmar will get absolutely clapped by the Japanese armies. Also, we are gonna have some advancements here on their coast, taking their capital, and from here they'll move and sweep across these territories of Myanmar, which is already a very rogue nation, so they will end up surrendering as well. Well, now we see that Japan has taken the entirety of the Indo-Chinese regions, and now their empire is stretching across a very wide area, all the way here from Oceania across the Pacific into the Korean Peninsula and Indo-Chinese peninsulas, and through multiple islands and archipelagos in the Pacific. But we are now gonna have a very big wait and a very big time gap of about 10 years, where they will get heavy supplies from the US, as they are gonna be preparing for a very big war, and this big war is none other than the invasion of China. Yes, Japan and China have thrown hands a lot in the past, most recently in World War II, but now Japan is here for revenge. With all this building up, we'll have Japanese armies marching through the border into the Chinese regions, which are not as populated as some of their more urban areas in cities like Shanghai or Beijing. They'll move through this land, but then this land is pretty mountainous, so for now they will be hesitant to go in there, but they will move here across the coast and end up going and taking this Chinese island, moving more across the coast and reaching Hong Kong. Also here Manchuria is very sparsely populated, so Japan will sweep across these areas, taking as much as they can until the Chinese armies arrive, and they will manage to take these lands to the urban areas and take these parts of Inner Mongolia, getting super close to the big Chinese cities, including their capital in Beijing. Although now the big Chinese army will come here and crash these Japanese forces, but they are unsuccessful to go and recapture their island and push them right around here. Also, China will be successful in repelling the Japanese forces from the Inner Mongolia region, which, even though sparsely populated, Japan didn't send as many personnel as they might have needed to send. But now Japan will do one of the greatest military landings in history, and they will be landing here on the Chinese coast from Taiwan, which goes to show why they took this island at the beginning of the video. China has had all its armies sent around this region to recapture it, and now they're gonna get squished, as these forces will now go up north, and these divisions will go here and encircle these forces. The advancement will continue up north, hoping to reach the very major cities of China, taking the base of this Chinese river, and here into Inner Mongolia. Japan will manage to push back the Chinese armies after they had to redirect a few into the south. And now nightmare will happen for China. Oh yeah, China experiences a lot of rebels here in the Xinjiang, Tibet regions, and now basically the people of China will rise up against the government, praying for the downfall of their nation. And with this, we are gonna have this encirclement in here being completed and wiping all these soldiers out, and even the army will turn against the Chinese government. A huge sweep of this area will happen as Japan manages to take this entire region of pretty unpopulated China and will take also the mountainous area that I just talked about, because there was little to no one there to defend the area, and the sweep will push as people just cheer the Japanese as they come to save the population. Basically, people accept their fate of falling over to Japan rather than staying under their dictatorial government, which does not care about them, being the Chinese government. And we're gonna have China being slowly pushed all the way back to their capital in Beijing. We will have the fall of Shanghai and later the capital of Beijing, and there the communist dictators of China will get captured, and from there China will fall. In this very huge peace treaty, we see that China has been totally decimated. They were forced to release Xizang, Tibet, and this central Chinese nation. Also, Mongolia got Inner Mongolia, and Japan took their lands here in Manchuria, a bit of land here on the Chinese Taiwanese coast, and the biggest portion was here in the south, where we had Japan get a lot of land, including the little Chinese island in here. Anyway, that will do it for today's video. I hope you liked it and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.